Hello, I'm CK, and welcome to my dungeon guide for Mythic The Other Side, which can be found on the east side of Ardenweald. This dungeon contains 4 bosses and some notable trash to watch out for. As always, timestamps can be found in the description below for all bosses and trash. Let's get started. The first 3 bosses can be done in any order, but we'll start with Hakkar the Soul Flayer, who is a major DPS check of the dungeon. The fight is pretty straightforward, as he will periodically summon a Son of Hakkar. These will cast Blood Nova, dealing AoE damage while alive. The damage increases every time it's cast, and they also fixate on random players. If fixated, you should run near the boss for easy cleave. Once they die, they'll turn into a large pile of spilled essence for 20 seconds before reanimating with full life. The longer the fight goes on, the more suns you have to deal with and juggle during the encounter, the more damage goes out. So make sure you're focusing down the boss, but also managing the adds. His next ability is called Corrupted Blood. He'll mark a player with Corrupted Blood that deals damage over 12 seconds. Every 3 seconds, the debuff will spread to any other player inside of the circle, so make sure that you spread out if you have this debuff. Hakkar's final ability is called Blood Barrier. He casts this at 100 energy. This deals damage to all players and puts up an absorb for the amount of damage done. So using a damage reduction will reduce the size of the absorb that he gains. These will also hit any Son of Hakkar, which will increase the size of the absorb. So if you have too many suns up, the absorb will be too big to break through. After he casts Blood Barrier, Hakkar will then begin to cast Blood Barrage, which will throw red swirlies all over the platform. If you get hit by one of these, it deals a decent amount of damage and reduces the damage that you do, which makes it even harder to break through the absorb. Once you break the shield, make sure you kick Blood Barrage to end the phase and return back to phase 1. The second boss is the Manastorms. This fight contains a couple of abilities to watch out for. First is cast by Millhouse and is called Power Overwhelming. He will summon a pink crystal somewhere in the arena and aim a beam directly at him. This beam can be blocked by players. While standing in the beam will grant you a buff that increases the damage you do, but also increases the damage you take from the beam. So if damage starts to get too high, then you should swap with another player in your party. The only other mechanic in this phase is cast by Maleficent, and it's called Echo Finger Laser. This will mark 2 players with a red arrow, and after a few seconds it will draw a line between them which deals damage. A few seconds later, this line erupts for even higher damage and stunning anybody in its path. This damage will also affect Millhouse, so the 2 marked players should make sure that Millhouse is between them so the line drops on top. After fighting Millhouse for a little while, Maleficent will take the place on the ground. Tanks be careful, as she deals very high damage with her Buzzsaw ability, which will apply a nasty bleed. The only other mechanic that she does is summon an experimental Squirrel Bomb. This summons a mechanical squirrel that needs to be clicked on to disarm before it explodes. The final ability for this fight is called Shadow Fury. Millhouse will cast Shadow Fury on a random party member, and this is indicated by a blue circle around the player. After a few seconds, Shadow Fury will explode, dealing damage and stunning everything inside of the circle. Just like the Echo Finger Laser that Maleficent casts, this will also affect her. So make sure the player gets Shadow Fury on top of the boss. The third boss of the dungeon is Dealerzaixa. This fight consists of 3 main abilities. Her main mechanic, and most important, is Displacement Trap. These will look like portals on the ground, and stepping into one teleports you high up into the air before landing and taking some falling damage. These portals will be used to deal with her other mechanics. Her second mechanic is called Localized Explosive. Planting a bomb on a random player, this player will be marked with a standard bomb timer over their head. A couple of seconds before the bomb detonates, this player should step into the displacement trap, and this will make the bomb explode above every player's head. Her third ability is called Explosive Contraband, which has a long cast time and will deal a large amount of damage to everybody that's still on the ground. 2 to 3 seconds before the cast finishes, all the players should hop into a displacement trap in order to dodge this. One final note for this boss, she will constantly cast displacement beams. Just dodge these and you'll be fine. The final boss of the dungeon is Missoula. He has this is a 2-phase fight. Phase 1, the first mechanic, is called Master of Death. He will perform 3 slams in a random order. He will either slam the left side of the platform, the right side of the platform, or the front half of the platform. Watch his hands to indicate what side of the platform he's going to hit. Getting hit by one of these slams will give you a stack of Master of Death that will stack throughout the fight. His next ability in this phase is called Cosmic Artifice, which places a dot on a non-tank party member. When this is dispelled or expires, it will deal some AoE damage to the group, but drop a large orb in the arena that will deal damage to nearby players after a short period of time. You want to make sure that you drop these to the side of the room, as dodging Master of Death with orbs in the middle becomes a lot harder. After a period of time in the fight, Missoula will cast Shadow Reality, which will spawn 4 different portals along the platform and will instantly kill anyone that remains on the platform where you started. You will want to take one of these portals and deal with the second phase of the fight. During phase 2, the portal you go through will send you to another platform in the arena. This platform will have 2 things. It will have a shattered visage of Missoula and a shielded totem. First, kill the image of Missoula. Then click on the totem. After a certain period of time, he will pull all players back to the main platform and begin phase 1 all over again. This is very important. Make sure that you click the totem before you get pulled back. Once you get pulled back, Bwonsamdi will then cast Bwonsamdi's Fury 1 time for every totem that was clicked. This will deal 20% of Missoula's health. Bwonsamdi will also give a buff to players called Bwonsamdi's Fervor. 1 stack for every totem that was clicked. This will increase haste by 30% and movement speed by 30% for 10 seconds, and this effect will stack. A final note for this fight is to make sure you never go through the same portal twice, as you need to take care of all the shielded totems, and once you click one, it does not go back to that platform. Now, let's discuss the trash you'll find through the dungeon. First up is the Atal Devoted, which will do nothing except cast Devoted Sacrifice. This is a 7-second cast and can be interrupted by a stun or a knockback. However, it will instantly begin the cast again. If they manage to finish, they will turn into a Son of Hakkar, which will act exactly the same as discussed in the Hakkar fight portion of this video. The next mob is the Atal Deathwalker. These will periodically cast Bladestorm, which deals very high damage to anyone in the effect. Melee should run out of this or stun the channel to avoid taking damage. When this mob dies, it will turn into an immune spirit that lasts for about 12 seconds and will chase down a player. This player needs to run, as this ghost deals a lot of melee damage. The trash on your way to the Manastorms is the deadliest in the dungeon. There's mobs and also environmental effects to watch out for. First off is the Defunct Dental Drill, which will only cast Haywire, but it deals a very high amount of AoE damage for 4 seconds, and unless your healer can heal through it, it is recommended that you line of sight this ability around one of the corners. About halfway through this wing, you will come across a section of slimes. This may remind you of Frogger. These slimes spawn infinitely. You want to make sure to use crowd control to make it through safely, as touching a slime will knock you backwards and deals very high damage, so there is a good chance you die by hitting one, getting bounced into another, and then laying on the floor. The last bit of trash. The final stretch to the Manastorms, you will have to walk across a narrow pipe. The 2 pipes on the wall will periodically fire sludge out of them and will knock any player off the small walkway to their death. Make sure you time your movements correctly. The trash on your way to Dealerzaixa doesn't have anything really notable. However, just watch out, as there is a mob that casts Sporific Shimmer Dust that causes you to keep jumping or else you fall asleep. And there is one mob that will cast a Fear, so just make sure you interrupt it. But for the most part, you can do large pulls here and just AoE everything down. I hope you found this guide helpful. If you're interested in more, I will be posting all Mythic dungeons and raid encounters along with future Shadowlands content on this channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss when a video goes live. Finally, leave me a comment down below to let me know how I can improve these videos for future content. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.